No Jalen Hurts, no problem. The Eagles roll over the Cowboys 41-7. Rube, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited that my bold prediction came out that the Eagles would have their first return touchdown of the year. They were one of only 4 teams that didn't have one. And they took care of that 3.5 minutes into the game.
Yeah, that's a nice little outcome for you.
Thanks, CJ. So the rest was just icing on the cake after that.
This is the Eagle Eye Podcast. We're presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank, and I'm Dave Zangaro. Yeah, I mean, this ended up being a laugher. It was close early for a little bit of time, but the Eagles do enough in this one. Kenny Pickett starts the game. He leaves with that ribs injury. Tanner McKee comes in. We've all been waiting to watch Tanner McKee play, and he did not disappoint. He played well. Saquon Barkley has a big game. Eventually goes over 2,000 yards for the season. Big games from Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. It was just a fun day to be at the link the Eagles rolled.
Yeah, and I was really curious to see how they would come out. Sunday was a really bad day for this team, and they hadn't lost in a long time. They hadn't had to figure out how to bounce back from a loss. And, the last time they lost a game, they had the bye week to kind of regroup. I was really impressed. I thought, and look, the Cowboys aren't the Cowboys. They don't have CeeDee Lamb. They don't have Prescott. I get all that. But the Eagles came out with their backup quarterback as well. After that first Dallas touchdown, I thought the defense was incredible. They really cleaned some stuff up. I was a little concerned after that first touchdown because it came on the heels of, 22 points in the fourth quarter last Sunday. I thought the defense was terrific. They tackled well. They were good against the run. Got another 4 turnovers. That's 9 takeaways in 2 games. First time I'm sure you just looked this up since the end of the 99 season. They had 14 in their last 2 games, 7 against the Patriots and 7 against the Rams. But yeah, I just thought everybody played well and backups played well. There's really nothing to criticize in this one. And
maybe we'll do a negativity corner at the end.
We might have to.
Okay.
To beat the Cowboys 41-7 with your second and third string quarterbacks is really impressive. And, I don't care whether they're eliminated. It's the Cowboys. It's a team that you haven't swept in 13 years. You finally swept them. You clinched the division. It's their third most lopsided win ever against the Cowboys, behind that 44-6 game at the end of the 2008 season. And what was it? 45-7 in 61 at the Cotton Bowl.
Okay. You said that to me like I should know that.
I thought you'd looked it up. I was actually surprised you didn't. It was just a very solid, convincing win. And when you look at the first game was 34-6, so they outscored the Cowboys 77-13 this year, which I think that will work its way into my weekly stats column.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Anytime the Eagles beat the Cowboys like that, it's fun for Eagles fans.
I was looking up like the last time they beat them twice in a season. Like I was looking at some of the guys who played in that game, like Owen Schmidt, like Jamar Chaney. I think we were just talking about Fireman Danny, Evan Mathis. I mean, it was a long time. That's a long time ago. There's nobody on this team that had ever swept the Cowboys in an Eagles uniform.
Yeah. I don't want to bury the lead here. The Eagles clinched the NFC East.
I did mention that.
They clinched at least the number 2 seed in the NFC. As we're recording this, the Vikings are up 13-3. So if the Vikings hold on to win that game, the Eagles are locked into the 2 seed, which might be the best thing, honestly, because it's unlikely the Eagles end up with the 1st seed. It's probably good to know you're just the 2 and you can rest guys next week if you need to or want to.
Yeah, I mean, San Francisco wasn't going to I guess it would have been kind of cool if they had a chance going into the Giants game.
And they still might. We'll see how these games play out.
They still might.
Depending on how long this podcast is, we might know by the end of it.
Let's try to make that not happen. But I think the Eagles are in a really good place. And look, it's not the easiest way to try to get to the Super Bowl by winning 3 games. Teams have done it. Obviously, with the 1 bye, it's a whole different animal. But the way this team is playing, I feel like they could play with anybody out there right now.
Yeah, and it at least gets you home games until potentially having to go on the road in the NFC Championship game, most likely to go to Detroit.
I would not be shocked if Detroit loses somewhere along the line and
you got a home game.
It's possible.
Yeah, it's definitely possible.
With all those injuries Detroit has, it's certainly in play. But yeah, I think in either way, you're going to get a week off. And I'd be shocked if any starters play on Sunday.
Well, we'll get into that in a little bit because there's obviously some intrigue behind that, especially with Saquon Barkley. Let's talk about him a little bit. 31 carries, 167 yards. If you would have seen his numbers at halftime, you'd be really surprised to hear he had 167 yards. He had 13 for 40 at halftime.
And it's like that every week. I mean, I don't know where my notebook is. I guess I left it on my desk, but he has 1,265 rushing yards in the second half this year, which is insane. I mean, his first half numbers are I would say pedestrian. I think he's at like 4.4. But in the second half, and he's averaged 6.7 yards a carry in the second half. I mean, the numbers are crazy. And, there's like an illusion that he gets stronger. He doesn't get stronger. I think he stays just as strong. Thanks, Tom. Now I have my notebook. How did you know it was there? Tom Finder of the rescue. I don't know how he did that. This is probably really sounds really good on a podcast as I try to find my numbers. All right. Saquon Barkley in the first half is averaging 4.8. He's 394 in the first quarter, 366 in the second quarter. Not bad numbers. Third quarter, 98 for 667. He's got almost 700 yards in the third quarter. And a 6.8 average. Fourth quarter, 88 for 578 and a 6.6. So overall,
and in a lot of these games, doesn't even need to play deep in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, he came out early today. He could have had another 50 easily. But it's just, I think it's just, he stays just as strong. He's in such great shape, and he really takes care of himself. And the O-line just beats people down. They just beat people down. And by the fourth quarter, defensive lines don't want to play run defense. They're just gassed, and they've been beat up all day. And, by some really large human beings. And I think that's a huge advantage. That's where, this O-line's been great all year, run blocking, but by the second half, they've just worn people out.
Yeah, right now he's over 2,000 yards. He has 2,005 yards. He's exactly 100 yards from Eric Dickerson. It was really cool hearing some of the players talk about, and Saquon mentioned it as well, that in the huddle, like the offensive linemen are telling him he's close, like go for it. Which is cool. Like it obviously it'll be next to his name forever, that 2005 or whatever it ends up being. But the offensive line and even like the receivers and the quarterbacks, everyone involved in this takes some joy in being a part of a historic season.
Yeah, I think even the guys on the defense really appreciate what he does because of the way he plays, the way he leads. I mean, when he went over 2,000, he ran off the field and he's like jumping up and down, hugging Kenny Gainwell, his backup. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then he goes over and he's with, Cam Jurgens. I mean, he shows so much appreciation to those guys. And, I think that means a lot to them. And
yeah. You go back to during this week, some reporting, he was a part of the Christmas present to the offensive line from typically the quarterback does that. But he said back in New York, he used to team up with Daniel Jones. So he called Jalen Hurts and said, hey, like, do you want to go in on this together? And then Jalen kind of handled most of it. But I think it's a really cool gesture from the running back who's having this type of season to be involved in that. You don't hear about that around the league.
You really don't. I mean, he's the ultimate team guy. I mean, he is such a team guy. And I really believe he's just as happy if Will Shipley scores or
probably happier.
Davis
honestly.
Price. Yeah. I mean, Gainwell. I mean, he's just such a team guy. It's rare for a guy that elite to, and like everybody says, they're a team guy, and he shows it every day. And he's so genuine about it.
Don't get us wrong. He's happy to have 2,000 yards
no
because
question.
He cares about the history of the game.
Yeah.
And he knows that he's just
one
of 9. Yeah.
You can do both.
Absolutely. He's proving that.
Yeah. And he's really into the numbers, and he doesn't hide from it. He understands where he's, what he's accomplished, and he's proud of it. But that doesn't change the fact that his focus is always on the team.
Let's push the conversation forward a little bit. It seems likely that week 18 will not matter from a seeding perspective. What do you think happens?
I just don't think you can play him.
Nick Sirianni said, we'll see. Yes, I know some of his teammates are hoping he gets the chance and that they're happy to play with him to give him that chance. The one guy who was iffy on it was Lane Johnson, who basically was like, yeah, let's play it safe. And
yeah,
most veteran guy on the team's like, I don't know.
Lane blocked for Shady in 2013 when he had his big year. It's incredible. to block for those two guys.
And he said he's been talking to the other offensive linemen about the appreciation they should have for being a part of a season like this. He said, like, when Shady did it, it was his second year, and he thought this will happen again. And it's, I mean,
now his rookie year, 13,
yeah, his rookie year, yeah. Now here we are, like 12 years later, and it's finally happening again. It's like these things don't come around very often.
Yeah, I see look. He could get 101 yards against the Giants, whether they stack the box or not.
I mean, and the fact that it's the Giants too makes it very tempting.
It does, and I get all that. I just, boy, can you really risk getting them hurt? I mean, it might take 20 carries. He's already got 345 carries this year.
And it does like set up potentially the worst and most disastrous decision in franchise history if something were to happen.
Yeah.
But let me put it to you this way. Jalen Hurts does not play in this game with a concussion. Could they frame it as, hey, we want to see Jalen a little bit in this game? Obviously, if Jalen's in there, the starting offensive line is going to be in there. At that point, why not put Saquon in the game anyway? It could almost be kind of a natural type thing.
Well, you'd have to play. But here's the thing, like, how long are you going to play Jalen? And
probably not a few series. Maybe you play Jalen for a few series. You see if Saquon breaks one and gets close, and then maybe you go for it at that point.
Yeah. I you know me, I love records. I love stats. I love the history of the game. I'd be afraid to do it. I just think the risk reward. I mean, nobody's going to be celebrating an Eric Dickerson trophy. I mean, the goal is to get to New Orleans and win that game. If he got hurt, and I know it's a long shot,
or if anyone got hurt,
hurt, sure, but mainly him, because it would be all about him.
Yeah, but like if you put the starting offensive line out there and Mekhi Becton goes down for the rest of the season, like that would be just as disastrous.
No, it's maybe not just
but it'd be a big deal. Yeah.
Close to it. Yeah. No, I agree. I just think it's too much at stake, and I'm not saying the Giants would do anything untoward, but nobody wants to get run on in a meaningless game trying to record chasing. I don't like. Remember, who was that fullback on the Cards who was trying to break the record for most catches in a season? It was a long time ago. Back when the record was like 106 or something. Okay. I wish I could remember his name. I'll look it up. And he needed it was like the fourth quarter. He needed like 6 catches. They just kept throwing him like 1-yard passes. And it just kind of made a mockery. And I think he ended up not getting it. But I love records. I just don't like that record chasing in a meaningless game. It just, I don't like the way it looks, and I don't like the risk that it presents.
Yeah. I don't care about the way it looks because Eric Dickerson's being a little bit of a baby about it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think it'd be funny.
Well, the interesting thing is Saquon's got like 30 fewer carries than Dickerson.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dickerson had 1 fewer game.
And Dickerson broke a record that was set in 14
games.
So
right.
What the heck?
OJ's record, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what he broke? Yeah, Dickerson's baby. But I just, maybe it's a 1% chance you get someone hurt, but I just, if they don't play, it's a 0% chance.
That's true. All right. Well, we'll
what
table.
Would you do?
I would play them early because I do think there's something to the idea of playing Jalen for a series or two coming off the concussion. And if you do that, then I think it's like kind of natural to put the whole offense out there for a couple series.
Yeah.
See if Saquon breaks a 70-yarder, which is very possible. If he breaks a 70-yarder, I mean, at that point, go get it.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about this later in the week. We have 2 more shows before the next game. I don't want to burn this whole conversation.
It's an interesting
right now. Kenny Pickett, tough game for him coming in with that ribs injury. We found out from Lane Johnson that Tanner McKee took most of the reps on Friday at practice. So significant injury to Kenny Pickett. He fights through it. Eventually takes a couple of shots in the third quarter, has to come out of the game, gets replaced by Tanner McKee, who plays well. But I thought Kenny Pickett did some good things.
Yeah, I was really impressed with him. And what a tough guy. I mean, I was wincing on those tush pushes. I mean,
yeah, that had to be painful.
And like the third one, it looked like he was in on the second one. I never saw a great replay, but
his knee hit the ground.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They finally showed a replay where you can tell his knee hit the ground.
But yeah, he played so tough. I was just really impressed with him, and I think Kellen kind of opened up the offense a little more, and he got to throw more. It wasn't just running. Yeah, he made some big throws and he played tough. And I thought he showed really good pocket presence against a team that has a ferocious pass rush. I thought he was better getting out of trouble and throwing on the run, making plays on the run, which he did a few times. I don't think he got sacked, did he?
No one got sacked. No Eagles. There was only one sack in this whole game.
Oh, and it was Booker and Trott junior right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird, and only one sack in this game.
Yeah.
He trusted the pocket.
Yeah.
It was there. I thought last week he had some happy feet in the pocket.
Which is understandable.
He wasn't trusting the protection. He trusted it today, and it worked.
Yeah. He was fine. I have no complaints about him.
He did exactly what you want your backup quarterback to do.
Yeah.
Didn't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
Was efficient enough. Made some tough plays. Stayed in there when he was hurt.
It's a shame he didn't get that touchdown on the 49-yarder.
Yeah.
It was the right call.
He did go down.
Yeah, he did. But, his numbers were good. And I think he's got the toughness is apparent, but the players seem to really like playing for him. I think when a guy's that tough and takes such a beating, is out there playing with broken ribs, guys really appreciate that and admire that.
Throughout the week, a bunch of players had kind of said that he was really like asserting himself in the huddle and practice. He was exuding confidence. I think Jordan Mailata said that after the game. That's a big deal when you're coming in and replacing a guy like Jalen Hurts, who might not be the loudest, but I mean, he exudes confidence, if nothing else. And so you're replacing a guy like that, who's clearly the franchise quarterback, to have the veteran and have that presence, I think is important. And this is why you have Kenny Pickett. This is why you traded for him. You think back to, I remember the 2 games Gardner Minshew had to start in 2022, and he lost both of them. And after the second one, he was so dejected because he's like, this is why I'm here. Like, I had these 2 chances to win a game and I couldn't get it done. Give credit to Kenny Pickett. It wasn't perfect. There were some miscues early, but I thought he had a really good performance. And then Tanner McKee, I like a Tanner McKee. That's the one big bright side. If they rest everyone next week, we'll get to see Tanner McKee start a game.
Play a whole game. I would think he would play most of it. There's no reason to put Pickett out there, certainly.
Yeah.
We've always liked him. I think we've talked about him a lot, mainly during the summer, some of our summer podcasts. He's got the whole package. I mean, he's got great size. He's got a terrific arm. He's accurate. He sees the field well. And saw all those things kind of come together for a guy to throw 2 touchdown passes, 2 relatively long touchdown passes in his first NFL game. And I like the fact that Kellen Moore trusted him to throw the ball, because it was too early to just keep running. I think that first drive, I think it was 9 runs.
Well, they were behind the sticks.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the one he took over, the first big drive?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the first time he got in the game was right after Kenny Pickett took the shot from Micah Parsons.
Right.
And
it was the 3rd and 15
they were backed up.
Yeah. I threw a short pass there, didn't get the first down, but he just looked comfortable. He looked at home.
Yeah. I mean, he did really look like he just looked good in the pocket.
Yeah.
He's like a prototypical pocket passer. Actually moves probably better than people give him credit for. But man, I like a Tanner McKee.
Yeah.
Jordan Mailata, after the game, did you see the quote?
No, we didn't run him in a post game.
Okay. He was later. He was kind of like after most of the scrums. How about the Mormon missile? The secret's out.
He's good.
And Jordan then expounded on that a little bit and said, why do you think our defense is so good? They're seeing Tanner McKee every day. He's been running that scout team. He's poised, man. I like Tanner.
What do you think happens? Future, long term.
I think he's at least a backup quarterback in this league.
You think he's number 2 next year?
Well, you have one more year under contract.
Another year, Pickett.
And he hasn't done anything to. I mean, do you think like trade him?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think McKee probably has more value to trade, just because he's younger and
not that much.
He's probably got a higher upside.
I mean, this is McKee's 2nd year. It's only Pickett's 3rd year.
Yeah, that's true. How old's Pickett? Is he 25?
Probably. And Tanner's not the youngest guy because he had the Mormon mission.
Yeah, he's 24, I believe. So yeah, that's true. I just
Pickett's 26.
He's 26. Yeah, because he was at Pitt he was 6 years.
Yeah. And McKee's 24.
Yeah. It's an interesting question, because I think you're fine with Pickett as your number 2, but this kid can play.
There's something that we've seen from Tanner McKee.
And there's value there. I mean, I think there's some value there.
He threw some dimes. I mean, the one to AJ that was out of bounds. Whew,
yeah.
What a throw.
Yeah.
And then AJ does catch his first touchdown pass And the longest throw of the day actually came from A.J. Brown tossing that ball into the stands.
Yeah, I don't know how they found the guy because he must have been 50 rows up.
He was up there. It was cool to watch at the stadium because it was like a real team effort. I think everyone understood the situation. First, like AJ comes to the bench and Nick tells him, and you see everyone go like, "Oh no!" And then there's like a mad scramble to that side. Security help. They found the guy. They brought him down. Big Dom's talking to him. AJ offered up a jersey, and then AJ after the game did sign he took off his game jersey, signed it, and gave it to the guy.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's a good.
The guy's probably like, "Hey, I want a McKee jersey."
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was like it was fun to watch. It was like a full group effort to get in that football.
We ran like slow motion of
AJ realizing it.
AJ like that was his first touchdown. Oh,
man, he launched that ball too.
Yeah, he did. Probably ended up getting fined for it.
It used to be a fine. I think it still is.
I think it is. Yeah. So, hey, I think we should mention Doug Nussmeier, who's got 3 quarterbacks ready to play.
That's true.
He's done a really good job. First year here, Alex Tanny was the QB's coach last year, and Jalen's having a terrific year. Pickett played well today, played as well as you could hope last week, I think. He's put up 26 points last week and 27 this week and didn't play a whole game in either one.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a young kid who in his debut throws 2 20-yard touchdowns, or 20 and 25.
How about this stat line for Tanner McKee? 3 completions, 4 attempts, 54 yards, 2 touchdowns, passer rating of 156.2.
Yeah.
That's not a bad day at the office.
I might do an entire Tanner McKee stats piece. Like, do you think anyone's ever
highest passer rating Eagles history right now? I'd assume.
I think no, because I think so Brian Mitchell threw 1 pass and it was like a 56-yarder to
minimum 4 attempts.
To Doc. Minimum 4 attempts. Keith Byers that one year was 4 for 4 with 4 touchdowns.
Okay, well maybe.
But he had a couple incompletes in his career. But you're probably right. I want to know if anybody has ever thrown 2 touchdowns in 4 attempts in their NFL debut.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm going to look that up right now. Yeah. Just talk.
Okay, I'll talk for a little bit. Not a big work day for Kenny Gainwell. 1 catch for 5 yards. Had 3 carries for 4 yards. Grant Calcaterra only 1 catch in this game, but man, it was a big one. That acrobatic 34-yarder on the right sideline, and that set up the go-ahead touchdown. At that point, it was 7-7. Like, this wasn't a game for very long, but it was definitely a game right there. And it was, you mentioned the defense a little bit. They'd given up yards on the first drive until CJ had that pick 6. Then the second drive is a 70-yarder for a touchdown. At that point, it's looking like a close game. So that Grant Calcaterra catch was huge.
Yeah, and it was a heck of a play. It was scramble drill. And he's the first guy to throw 2 touchdowns in 4 or fewer attempts in his NFL debut. Let's find out the fewest previous attempts the guy's thrown 2 touchdowns in his NFL debut. Here it is. It's 6 attempts. Oh, it was a scab game. It was a replacement game. A guy named Mike Bush from the Giants. Speaking of Sean Payton, the last non-scab was Gary Marangi, who was 6 for 9 with 2 touchdowns for the Bills against the Dolphins.
Gary was good. I always liked his brother Lemon better.
Lemon Marangi. Boston College guy. From New York. Not guys from Manhattan. But yeah, anyway, just so people know that. What were we talking about?
Grant Calcaterra.
Yeah, he made an incredible one-handed catch. He's made some big catches this year. A lot of long plays.
Yeah, explosives.
Yeah.
Which, is they didn't get that from Jack Stoll. Now, you can look at it and say Jack Stoll was a heck of a blocker, and they could have used that last week, certainly, when Grant Calcaterra was getting blown off the line. But, like, one big play like that is all it takes for you to think, okay, like, I see why Grant's in there.
Yeah, and Goddard will be eligible to play Sunday. We'll see what happens. He'll see if they open his practice window.
What do you think? They maybe get him sometime?
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's missed 4 games.
Get him. Yeah. Hasn't played in a month. Get him some run. But yeah, everybody contributed. It was good to see. It was a real team win. I mean, there's nobody I could find any fault in.
Yeah. The offensive line played really well. Mekhi Becton had to leave. Tyler Steen.
Do you know what he had? Did they announce anything?
No, they didn't.
Looked like he was limping.
Yeah, I think he'll be okay. That was my read
He came
on it.
back in, yeah.
Yeah. Man, I saw a video of him really emotional after this game, walking off the field. Like, you forget, like, it's not normal to just win division titles. Like, there's some teams that,
Yeah.
like, he was playing for a team that didn't sniff a division title. And really, same with Saquon.
Yep.
Like, he got a shirt and a hat, and he's like, oh, okay, this is what happens when you. And it's an interesting dynamic in the locker room because you have guys like Barkley and Becton who have not experienced this, and they're really enjoying the division win. Then you have a bunch of these players, probably more than the other way, are like, yo, this is just one step. Like, I don't even want that hat. Like, this is not what I'm here for.
Guys who've been on 2 Super Bowl teams,
Mhm.
a couple of them, but yeah, I think that's a really cool thing for both those guys. And I mean, I can't imagine playing your whole career for the Jets or Giants. I mean, at least Saquon had that one year where they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I think it's a real. I think when you're trying to sign players, we'll be sitting in here the first day of free agency. If you're a player out there and you've never won anything, and I mean, where would you want to go? I mean, it's such a selling point, such a recruiting point for Howie. Look, come here and you're gonna win, and they're not going away.
No, it doesn't look like it. No, it's a weird league, but
Yeah.
But that was kind of the cool dynamic in the locker room after the game.
Yeah.
It's like some players are really excited about the division. Some players are like,
I probably told my Jim McMahon story in the past. You know, when the Bears won the Super Bowl in '85, it was at the Superdome.
Mhm.
And in '92, when the Eagles hadn't won a playoff game since 1980, and they go down to New Orleans and score 26 points in the fourth quarter and come back and beat the Saints after being down like 17 points. And we're in the locker room, and Jim McMahon, this is at the Superdome, and Jim McMahon's at his locker, and he just yells out, and everyone's celebrating and carrying on champagne. And he just says, ain't no fun till you win them all.
yeah,
I'll never forget that.
it's a good reminder.
Yeah.
31 teams end up pretty disappointed at the end of this season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, this team has a legitimate chance to win the Super Bowl. And I think that's a good way to look at it. And you know, Jordan Mailata was asked about Mekhi's emotion. He's like, you want him to experience this. You want him to, like, be able to go through all those motions. But at a certain point, it's got to flip because there's bigger goals in mind. Yeah. CJ Gardner-Johnson expressed that. He's like, I don't want to win a division. I want to win a Super Bowl. And they should be thinking like that. There's no reason not to.
You know, he's the first Eagles safety with 12 interceptions in a 2-year span since Bill Bradley.
That sounds like a good note for the other side. Let's take a break. We'll get to the defense and special teams and wrap up this pod when we get back.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and nissanusa.com today.
All right, we're back on the Eagle Eye podcast. Reuben, look live here. You mentioned CJ Gardner-Johnson on the other side, on the previous side here.
Previous side
on the first half of this pod. 2 more interceptions, the pick six, the first touchdown of his career. Made it through the whole game this time.
Yeah.
Big game for him.
Yeah, I was really impressed with what he said. Were you in the group talking to him after the game?
A bit.
He said someone asked him what he learned from last week, and he said, I learned I got to grow up. And I learned that he said we're a much better team when I'm out there than when I'm not, which is so true. What a beast he's been. And, you know, he'll give up a play here and there, but he's such a playmaker. And he's just his ability to catch that ball and then just kind of flip gears and start running upfield down the sideline was really impressive. He got into like there's no hesitation. Like, what do I do here? Where he just started running really fast. And and that was a big play. I mean, Dallas was up 7-0. And no, they hadn't scored yet, right?
No, they hadn't.
They scored on the next drive.
Yeah, Dallas never led.
My bad. But
they were moving the ball.
Yeah, they were moving the ball before that play.
They were already in field goal range.
They were on it was at the 30, obviously, since it was 70-yard or 69-yard.
They changed it to 69.
They did change it. I think it's wrong on my ops to get them to change that. But he's just so just one of those players that has such a knack for where the ball is.
Mm.
And I love the stat that he wasn't even here last year, and he still got the most interceptions on the team over the last 3 years. Not a lot of guys that make those kind of plays on this team. It's really Reed and him. Slay used to, just hasn't this year. Played okay. Quignon could have had that one if he was as aggressive to the ball as CJ, he would have had that pick. But he just
honestly, if he was, they probably collide in the ball
maybe.
drops. Yeah,
but it's something he'll learn. I mean, he could have had that touchdown, or that interception.
He was mad after that.
I don't blame him.
They had to, eventually they started laughing about it, but you could tell in the moment he goes, "You got to be kidding me!"
Yeah,
that's the second time CJ's gotten in front of a pick for him.
Yeah, I'll just say CJ did exactly what he should do.
Yeah, you don't know the guys behind you. You got to get the ball.
Yeah, you can't. So, really impressive stuff.
He did apologize to him though.
But yeah, 12 interceptions in 28 games as an Eagle, which is, that's 14 would be won every other game. Yeah. So that's really terrific production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Other defensive notes, Cowboys scored 7 points. It was that one drive, 70 yards.
I think they only had 50 yards on their next 6 drives.
Yeah, the defense was spectacular. The defensive line didn't have a ton of pressure. I thought there were moments today where I was like, that's probably too much time for Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
That's the one kind of thing. It wasn't great, but man, even without Nakobe Dean, the linebacker play was solid.
Burks played well.
He played well early on. I thought they were running at him a little bit. I thought maybe that was the reason Trot came in, but maybe that was just a rotation.
I'm guessing they just wanted to get Trot in there a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought he was okay.
Yeah, he held up fine. Burks had that forced fumble.
Yeah.
It's amazing. They've come so far at linebacker. The backups are making plays.
Too many linebackers.
Yeah, they didn't have one linebacker who could make a play last year.
No. And for most years, they just haven't had that. So yeah, it's definitely different.
Mm-hmm. Who else? Anyone else we have to?
Nolan makes a play every game.
Yeah, he had that the forced fumble in this one.
Yeah.
Jalen Carter had another batted pass.
Yeah, he did.
He has 6 batted passes this year. He didn't have a single one as a rookie.
Is that right?
Yeah, so he's doing a really good job. He gets doubled all the time, and it's really cool to see that. They stress it to him to throw a paw up there and bat the ball, but it kind of makes sense. You get doubled that much, there are going to be some plays where you're not going to get close to the quarterback.
Yeah,
and he's still finding a way to affect the game, and I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, Jordan Davis had a fumble recovery, got down in there.
Yeah, he was on that ball, and I was like, you know what? I have a lot of faith that Jordan Davis is going to come out with this football if he's down there.
Yeah, there's not a lot of ways for guys to get their hands in there, but it was good to see. Yeah, like I said, it just seemed like everybody did something.
You know what? The Cowboys early did throw at Quinyon Mitchell a little bit more than other teams have, and there were some moments where he gave up some passes. The touchdown was against him.
Yes, it was.
So. I'm curious if that changes the approach for other teams. Teams have been so terrified to throw the ball at him. Wondering if that changes going into the playoffs.
It's a good question. I think I don't know if he's you talk about the rookie wall. He's played a lot of snaps, more than he ever played at Toledo. Just wonder if he's a little gassed. Again, that's the value.
I don't know. He still played well. I don't want to make it seem like he had an awful game, but it was clear to me they were not afraid of throwing at him.
I think over the last 3 weeks he hasn't been quite the same player.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it could be just teams kind of building a book on him, and certainly face some good quarterbacks. Maybe not today.
Jalen Hunt had 6 tackles.
Cooper Rush, by the way, is 9-5 in his career, and he's 0-4 against the Eagles. He's 9-1 against everyone else. I don't know what that means.
It's weird.
Yeah. Jalen Hunt, is that right?
He had 6 tackles.
Interesting.
And a TFL.
Yeah, everyone played a part. It was cool on both sides of the ball.
Did want to mention actually, Avonte Maddox is now the third safety. When Reed Blankenship came out, it actually worked out timing wise really well because Reed got banged up, and then the play he comes on is one where CJ came off, and CJ didn't want to talk about his injury, but he was talking in the locker room. It didn't seem like anything super serious in the moment. Definitely some worry. He looked like he was in pain. He was on the ground for a while, so I think they escaped a major one there, and with a potential week to rest next week, I think that'll come at a good time for him. But Avonte Maddox was the next safety on the field, so it looks like that's his role going into the playoffs, not Tristan McCollum or Sidney Brown.
Yeah, and I mean, Tristan McCollum had a really tough day last week. It's probably the right move. It's been a hard year for Avante, but I mean, I don't know. I guess
Yeah, like you play him in the post. I think you feel okay about it.
Yeah.
If he ends up having to cover someone, I
it's
think you do
tough.
worry about it. But
Yeah.
you also worry if it's Tristan McCollum.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a guy who's only going to be on the field if there's an injury.
Yes.
Like you're not going to build him into a package anymore.
No. And the thing about Avante is I think he'll give you a lot more as a run defender than Tristan McCollum will. He's a physical guy. Where McCollum might give up a touchdown, Avante will give up a DPI.
Sure.
He'll find a way to get a penalty and make sure the guy doesn't catch it.
Anything else on defense? Anyone else you wanted to mention?
I think we covered everybody.
Bryce Huff came back in the game. He left with a shoulder injury. I mean, he played 2 snaps and then left.
Yeah.
At first, you're worried, is it the wrist? Did he re-injure it somehow? It wasn't. It was a shoulder. So you hear it's a different body part, and you go, okay, that's actually good news. I saw he had it taped in the locker room, but he comes back in. Look, I don't know what he's going to give them down the stretch, but you're better off with him than without him.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I would think so.
Special teams?
Yeah, finally saw Jake Elliott kicking off, and he was fantastic.
Yeah, it was a necessary move, especially against Kevontae Turpin, who's one of the best return men in the league. Super dangerous. If you can take the ball out of his hands, do it.
I think the first 4 were touchbacks, like deep touchbacks. And then the next one he tried to return. He only got out to he took it like 5 yards deep, got out to the 26. So it's a 31-yard return, but he only got to the 26. So
yeah, it was good coverage.
That's a win. He had the one long one that got called back. I didn't see the penalty, but it turned into a 22-yarder. So he was 2 for 48 or something like that. He's such a weapon for them and they don't have a lot of weapons. So
yeah, that's why when he got like regular handoffs in this game, I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
Get the ball in his hands. You don't have many players who can break anything.
Yeah. He's chippy too, man. He's like,
man, he was going after some of these dudes.
He was going after everybody.
Yeah, even like the first kickoff, he's getting booed and he's like asking the fans to give him more.
Yeah, he was. It was chippy game.
It was chippy. And the Eagles only had one player get ejected and came right at the end.
He's gonna get suspended. Sydney.
It wasn't good.
I mean,
he did get hit first.
Yeah, but you can't tackle a guy.
Yeah, they don't like that. Yeah.
I mean, that was like something out of pro wrestling. Like you're like 40 yards away from the field.
Yeah, and at first, like it was just I was about to walk down to the field level, beat the elevator rush because the game was kind of in hand. And then I was like, oh, wait a second, let me get my binoculars out and see what the heck's going on down there with Sydney.
Yeah,
but I made such good time that I got down to the tunnel and he was just finally walking off.
Really?
It's good timing, right?
Yeah,
that's not going to be impressive to anyone else who doesn't know the layout there. But for me to get from my seat in the press box to the tunnel where Sidney Brown's walking off and the time it took him to walk from that side of the field through, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Sydney's he can't do that.
Yeah, he was going after it all game.
Yeah.
Like right from the first kickoff.
Yeah. And I wonder if that has something to do with him not being the backup safety. I mean,
I doubt that.
Probably not, but I mean, man, he's like the nicest guy. Like when you talk to him, he's just like, but yeah. And by the way, did you watch the Bengals game yesterday?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell them apart. Obviously, if one has a Bengals uniform on, I know who it is, but he and his brother just are identical.
They even have some of the same mannerisms.
Yeah. Mannerisms? Wait.
We've done this before.
Did you do that intentionally?
Yeah.
Okay. Mannerisms and aneurysms combined. But yeah, that was I was, and Michael Clay hinted at that on when we talked to him. I guess it was on, when did we talk to him on? I don't remember. Tuesday? Was it Tuesday? He hinted at possible change, and Elliott showed a lot of leg strength. So
yeah, and it was a warm day. That helps.
That definitely
the ball was
helps.
Traveling pretty well.
And Jake made his kicks.
Yeah, he was 2 for 2 on field goals, 5 for 5 on extra points. Brandon Aubrey missed the field goal. It was 61 yards, but he missed it.
Yeah, well, that guy were you there when that guy, he was kind of behind our TV location? Mm-hmm. He was alternating. I think he'd had a couple beverages.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Which I didn't know you could do at an Eagles game, get a drink, but he was screaming. Every time Aubrey came anywhere across the 50, he would start screaming, Aubrey, you suck. And then whenever why can't I think of his name? The Eagles long snapper,
Rick
Rick
Lovato,
Lovato.
yeah.
Whenever he came over on that side, the guy would scream, "Hey, Lovato, you're the best bleeping long snapper in the NFL."
That guy's actually a scout. He scouts the long snappers in the league.
It was pretty funny. I was like, is this guy gonna keep doing this when we're doing our live shots? But I've never seen anybody but you get that like worked up over special teamers.
Thanks.
So it was good to see.
I think that's all I have in my notes.
Yeah.
Any other odds and ends you have? I can
No.
talk to you about the locker room a little bit more.
Yeah.
AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, the rest of the offensive guys, were just really impressed by Kenny Pickett, kind of toughing it out. I think Kenny kind of hid how significant the injury was for most of this week. It was clear he was in some pain. He had the extra padding in the flak jacket. And I think all the time with him worked. And I think it ended up being a good thing they got time with Tanner McKee on Friday.
Right.
Like, because they haven't gotten reps with these guys all year. So to get those reps during the week really helps.
Would you start Tanner Sunday? Assuming we don't even know if Jalen's going to clear. You would think he would.
You would assume. I guess you can assume, but you would think he would. I mean, if they're not going to play the starters, then you start Tanner McKee.
Yeah.
But I mean, either way, I think we'll see him play.
Either way, he'll play most of the game, I would think.
Yeah. What do you think Ian Book was thinking during this game? Fresh off the couch.
Yeah.
Out there. Pickett goes down. McKee's in there. Wide-eyed, or you think he's ready to go?
No, he's ready.
Okay.
Yeah, he's ready. He was, he's Carson Wentz's former teammate. He was with the Chiefs this summer, so he learned a lot. He's with the Patriots, but Brady wasn't there, so he didn't learn a lot. He's a coach like waiting to happen. That guy. Yeah.
Will Greer might be too, and he was in the building today.
There was a lot of Eagles quarterbacks in there. I saw Irving Fryer walking around the head house plaza, whatever they call it now, but he wasn't.
Does he go undetected?
No, like a couple guys recognized him. I mean, he's got like beard now, and he looks different. But a couple people recognized
one of those
him.
hats on, like a fedora hat.
He did not have a hat.
Okay. I always picture him with the fedora on.
Yeah, he usually does. But it was just funny. I was like, what are you doing here? You haven't? He's like, nothing. I just came to the game. He didn't have an appearance or anything. I ran into Jason Avant in the parking lot. It was good seeing him.
Alshon was the honorary captain.
Yeah, Malcolm was there.
Did see Malcolm.
Yeah, I was like seeing all those guys.
Yeah, it's fun.
Back in the day, guys.
And it's cool that they show up.
It is, and it's something Jeff Lurie has really, like when he bought the team. Norman Brayman there was no like acknowledgement of the team's history. There was nothing for alumni. They never brought players back. They never honored anybody. Even the Eagles Hall of Fame was dormant. People don't realize like it's such a big deal now if a guy goes in. It didn't exist. He had shut it down. I never forget at the vet, like when you went in the main security entrance, which the security was some guy sleeping at a desk, but there were these like rusty old plaques up on the wall. You could barely even see. They were dusty and rusty and chipped. And that was the Eagles Hall of Fame. And they hadn't put anybody in years. So yeah, I think Jeff Lurie, one thing, and certainly a lot that he's been good at, but one thing is kind of reconnecting the franchise with its past. I mean, you go in that head house plaza and all the old photos, it's like a museum in there, like an Eagles museum. It's a really cool thing.
Looking at snap counts for the defense.
I'm going history. Dave goes snap counts. That's us in a nutshell.
Not a ton of notes here because they got the backups in at the end, but Oren Burks played the most snaps of anyone, 51.
Wow.
Yeah. They had 62 defensive snaps. He had played 51 of them. Quinyon and Reed and Zach Bond and Slay were next with 49. Zach Bond had the green dot in this game. He kind of revealed that to me on Thursday. And then when I asked him, wait, why are you wearing the green dot? He was like, well, we might play a lot of dime this week. You guys haven't played dime all year. Nakobe's injured, so.
Yeah, and that was, we haven't mentioned Nakobe. It was a little surprising when we got the injury report Friday and he was doubtful.
I wasn't that surprised because Zach Bond told us he was going to wear the green dot.
I was surprised. But they held up fine. Nakobe's having a really nice year. So
yeah, other injury stuff that we should mention. Obviously, Jalen's still in the concussion protocol. Will Shipley in the concussion protocol. I think they escaped today without any serious injuries. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, Nick will tell us Monday in his presser.
I'm sure. Becton seemed okay. CJ Gardner-Johnson.
How many snaps did Steen play in there?
I don't have that.
Well, that's all right. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just say 6.
Anyone else that?
No.
I know Fred Johnson ended up in there at one point.
Did he?
Yeah.
No. No, I think that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Want to do a negativity corner? You got anything for a negativity
I got
corner?
nothing.
I've got some stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Obviously, the AJ tossing the football, not great. Got to have better awareness than that. You got to know the situation. The Eagles won't win the division next year.
Yes, they will.
Well, they can't. They won it this year.
I believe
not
they will.
That's not how this works.
I think they will.
I think we also said that after 2022. Did not happen. It has not happened since 2004.
I think they will.
Okay.
They've got a really impressive young roster. I mean,
they did after 2022 as well.
I think they will.
And they did after 2017. And they did. It's a weird division.
Giants, Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Cowboys, Eagles, Giants, Washington, Eagles, Cowboys, Washington, Cowboys, Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles, Washington, Cowboys, Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah, it is. Longest streak, such streak in history, not surprisingly.
Yeah.
Oh, you know who we didn't mention that I think I want to is Devontae. Did we mention Devontae much?
Yeah.
I thought
the 2 touchdowns.
No, we mentioned those plays, but you know, he also had 120 yards.
Mm-hmm.
It's his biggest game since early last year, since week 2 against the Vikings, I think. And you know, that was a tough drop last week. That was an uncharacteristic play. He was really down on himself, and it's just good to see a guy.
Honestly, he really wasn't.
I'm sure he was.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. But
he didn't talk like it.
He didn't talk like
it.
I get that, but it's disappointing. I'm sure he was disappointed. He catches that ball most of the time, and it's just good to see a guy bounce back like that. And CJ did the same thing for different circumstances, but yeah, it was just good to see Devontae.
CJ bounced back from an ejection.
Yeah, he did. And you know, it's funny.
And at one point, Devontae did have to get his right wrist taped.
Yeah.
Well,
he got that ridiculous. I mean, he got blocked in the back. They didn't call anything. I think it was that 35 guy. How do you not call a penalty there? It was. Did you see the play?
Yeah, Pickett was out of the pocket. So
was he?
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, Devontae was impressive, and he's got almost 850 yards, and he's missed 3 games. So he's not going to get 1,000, but it's been a tough year for him. But he's, injuries and stuff. But he's really good.
I have one more for negativity corner.
Oh, I'm sorry, interrupted. I'm sure this will be really good.
Lincoln, the eagle, the bald eagle.
Yeah,
Lincoln.
I know who you mean.
Not a great flight pattern today. It was really just a direct shot, like pretty low, right to the handler. It really makes you miss Challenger, the late great retired Challenger. Used to really ham it up, do some loops around the stadium and then land. This was like a direct beeline for the handler. It's almost like, you don't realize it's like Jalen, like they went from Jalen to Kenny Pickett, like gets the job done, but it makes you miss Jalen a little bit more.
I mentioned like a gold medalist in track, and you give me a hard time, and you're talking about a bird. This
podcast is literally called Eagle Eye.
Yeah, it refers to the name of the team. How about that thing I sent you? There's another Eagle Eye podcast.
Should we declare war on them?
I think so. I don't like it. It's a bunch of students at Emory University in Atlanta, and they call their, I guess, is Emory the Eagles? I guess they call their podcast.
Good context clues there.
But it's it's like students from the business school, and they call their podcast Eagle Eye, and I'm not happy about it.
Now we have 2 options here.
Yeah,
we either declare war, or we befriend them, or maybe door number 3, we pretend to befriend them and Trojan horse them and really take them down from the inside.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
Let us know what you think. If you have a question for us, you can email us the question, but also let us know what you think we should do about the other Eagle Eye podcast. The email address is eagleeye@NBC.
What if they're getting some of our emails?
I don't think that's how this works. We set up this email address. It's eagleeye@NBCUNI.com. If you're watching on YouTube, you can scan that QR code. This is also where I tell you guys, if you enjoy the podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. Rube, any final words?
Now, John Clark just texted me with a great question. I'm going to look this up tomorrow. When's the last time a player before A.J. Brown caught a touchdown pass in 3 consecutive games from 3 different quarterbacks?
Oh, wow.
I like that.
That's very good.
Clarky's mind is
You're not going to get any sleep tonight.
No, I'm going to. Now, this will be one of those things where, like, I pull over the car and start getting on StatHead, like in a parking lot of a gas station.
We'll get to a safe place before you look up stats.
I promise.
All right. Thanks, everyone. For Reuben, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you.